All right, joining us right now is Texas Ranger fan favorite. He does some of the color on TV this year, coming up next year too. Hopefully, it's David Murphy. David, what's going on, bud?
Not a whole lot. How are y'all?
Doing well. Big ski trip coming up for you guys today, huh?
Yeah, this is I did it a bunch growing up, and had to take about 20 years off because of baseball. So it's probably my favorite thing to do on this side of retirement. So yeah, gonna get out to the mountains for a little bit.
Are you going to the great state of Colorado, my home state?
Yes, sir.
Atta baby. All right. Well, they appreciate your tourism dollars.
Yes, they do. I love Colorado. I haven't been in. I used to ski all the time. Now I've told the wife if we go, I will not get off a green slope. My knees won't be able to do anything beyond that anymore.
Well, are you any good? Are you good at skiing, David? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what's good or bad. So I challenge myself. This is actually third trip this year. Went to Big Sky. Went to Telluride recently, and so just. My brother is actually 13 years older than me. He loves it. He's really good at it. So that was the trip that I went on to Telluride. So when I go with him, he kind of pushes me a little bit.
Okay.
This is just going to be a family trip. So we may take it easy, but I have a 12-year-old son who's a snowboarder, and maybe I'll push him a little bit. We'll see.
As a native of Colorado, I've never been to Telluride. It's like on the complete other side of the state from where I grew up. But
yeah.
Apparently it's really tough.
I'm the type of guy that I want to go absolutely everywhere. So, and I've been to pretty much all the big ones. Telluride, that was the first one. That's the first time I've ever been there. And I will say, maybe because it's a little bit more remote, like it was a great place to ski, and there was almost nobody there. So that was very attractive. There was the longest lift line that I waited in was about 3 minutes.
Yeah. Now I got to ask this. Now, do you ski or do you snowboard?
No, I ski. Snowboarding looks enticing, but at the same time, when you get on the catwalks and you hit some of the flat ground and they're hopping along, it just looks completely uncomfortable. So
right.
Yeah, if you have, it kind of looks fun on jumps. It looks fun, on moguls, but if you hit any kind of flat ground or on greens, it does not look fun at all.
Yeah.
So my wife and I went with a youth group one time. We were the chaperones for a youth group at our church. She hadn't skied in years, and I used to ski a lot. My dad lived in Colorado when I was a kid. She started trying to talk me into snowboarding. This was probably 15 years ago. I was like, I know how to ski.
Yeah.
I don't know how to snowboard. And she did snowboarding for about 2 hours. And I said, just put the dadgum skis on. She was happy the rest of the way. I'm like, we're not 18 years old and it's not worth it.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead. I was going to say I have a few friends who have done both, and they say that skiing is easy to learn and harder to master, and snowboarding is harder to learn and easier to master. But I think my take on it is I only have so many days out on the mountain as it is. So if I'm going to learn how to snowboard, it's going to take a good 3 or 4 days at least to get comfortable. And, I only have maximum 6 or 7 days on the mountain in an entire year. So I don't want to waste a year.
I'm with you.
Totally agree.
All right. It's the off season for a few more weeks, I guess. I'm sure you feel it and felt it last weekend at FanFest. There's still a huge buzz from this World Series season.
Yeah, I guess you would hope that's exactly what's supposed to happen. And maybe the fact that the Cowboys, got ousted from the playoffs a little earlier than everybody expected. The Mavericks are having a pretty good season, but it's when you win a World Series, when you win any type of championship, it should create something different within your fan base, because you're excited about the team, you're excited about the upcoming season, and you have players that you want to follow. Everybody wants to follow Marcus Semien and Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia. They want to see what Evan Carter can do. There's a lot of buzz about Wyatt Langford. So there's a lot of things to be excited about.
The offseason, it's been probably the weirdest since I've been covering the team, just the way it's flowed baseball wise.
Yeah.
Baseball wide.
God, it's been so short because they went so long.
But as far as signings and additions to the clubs, just seems like, Otani and Yamamoto kind of controlled things in December, and now Boris has his guys. But the Rangers didn't need much. What have you thought about how they've navigated the offseason?
Yeah, I think it's weird. I think you see kind of like this balance and this back and forth. Maybe not for maybe up until say 10 years or so ago, or maybe not even quite that long, but it seemed like it was always a player's market. And, it was typical. The players were going to dictate what was going to happen. Your big guys were going to set the market, and then your dominoes were going to fall after that. Well, then you started seeing some of those mega contracts, and, you started seeing a changing of the guard in terms of the way that players were looked at, because the analytics came into play so much that you started to see guys not sign until February or mid-February, and it was so uncharacteristic of what we were used to. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, they just, teams started handing out money like crazy to whoever wanted it. So it seems like on the front office side and on the ownership side, now they're trying to recorrect that, because so much money has been giving out, and they're thinking, well, Cody Bellinger, yeah, he had a great year, but he's a guy with low exit velocity, so we can't pay him all that money. And Blake Snell is, he just won the Cy Young, but he doesn't go deep into games, even though. Yeah. So I guess there's huge positives and huge negatives with a lot of these guys. Obviously we saw Jordan Montgomery, and maybe he's not quite what he was in the postseason. You could argue that, but man, he did so great in that stretch run. So he's clutch at the same time. So I'm sure what the teams want to pay and versus what the players want, there's a little bit of a gap there. But I would love to see the Rangers get Montgomery back. I think we all would.
It's February 2nd, and I mean, spring training, pitchers and catchers, their first workouts in 12 days.
Yeah.
As a player, I would be going crazy if I wasn't signed.
So my last off season, and but by no means was I any type of big name free agent. And I didn't even get a big league deal my last year. I had to settle for a minor league deal. And I think that's kind of what I referred to in the changing of the guard and just the way the players were looked at. But I signed on February 29th, and that was back in 2016. And I will say that I was miserable, and I didn't know if I was going to get a big league deal or a minor league deal. So, you think of these guys, they know they're going to sign a major league contract. They know that they're going to get, multiple years. They're going to get 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's going to be. But I think especially from the family side of it, guys that have families, guys that want to know where they're going to live in spring training, because all that housing is probably picked over, and then they're kind of running out of time. They don't want to do all of these things last second, where they're trying to pick where they're going to live and figure that whole situation out. So yeah, I feel for those guys, because that's not a good place to be, knowing that spring training is so close.
Yeah, I guess to your point, Montgomery just has his wife who's in a medical residency in Boston, but a lot of people are pointing to that as we're trying to figure out where he's going to sign. But she's not going to be there even the whole year. She moves on to another residency, I think in Nashville next. So I think Boston fans were like, "Oh, hey, he's going to go with his wife." I don't think so. And as you know, you're away from your family so much. And you got to go where the money is, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you played for Cleveland, for crying out loud. So, I would just think that
no knock on Cleveland.
Yeah, not at all. I would just think that where his wife is not going to be the deciding factor. It's going to come down to years and salary.
You can change residencies anytime as a doctor.
And you have to think. I mean, I didn't talk to him while he was here, but you've got to think, with the experience that he just had, with as well as he pitched down the stretch, and then winning a World Series. From a sentimental standpoint, you've got to figure that he would love to come back here. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, we've got a bankruptcy affecting us financially, and I don't know how much that comes into play. So, it's unfortunate to see him still out there. Would love to see him back.
Yeah, and with the state of the rotation with the injuries, I mean, I feel pretty good about the 5, but
Oh yeah,
you can always the depth is the thing. There's not a there you if knock on wood, hope Nathan Evaldi has to go on the disabled list for a month, the injured list. Sorry, I hope I didn't offend anybody. Who you're right now you're leaning on an Owen White or a Jack Leiter.
Right.
They're pretty unproven, so you'd probably want a guy who has been there and done that, and
they've got to be getting another veteran arm no matter what. That's what you think.
You'd think, but I don't know. But what Adrian Beltre, who we'll talk about here in a second, he said that the Rangers winning the World Series, and Michael Young has said this, and I think probably Ian Kinsler kind of took was like a relief for guys who were on the 2010 and 2011 teams.
A little bit of the sting.
Yeah, took away kind of the sting, but also now the city has its title. Do you feel that way, having been on those clubs?
100%. Just seeing you just talked about the joy and the energy around FanFest and what's been going on since November, October. I think the first person I thought of was Nelson Cruz, and ironically, obviously, he retired the next day after the Rangers won. Because so many people, the conversation, you run into fans, you talk to people that you relive those years. Man, y'all are such a good team, but that was a great run. But talking about Game 6, talking about David Freese, like. All the talk that has gone on for so long now. And I think, it's still part of this team and the history of the Texas Rangers franchise, but it's not the lasting memory now. It's just, those were tough memories. I think we as players can see enough of, especially in 2011, what a great series that was, even in a losing effort. So you appreciate it for what it was. But 100% because I think every player is going to look at one team throughout the course of their career where they're, the team that was nearest and dearest to their heart, where they had the most fun, where they had a group of teammates that they enjoyed the most. And I can't speak for those guys. I could assume at the same time, I could say for me, that those teams that was the best time I ever had in Major League Baseball, and maybe my entire baseball career, my entire life. So, and now because of that, we're fans of the franchise forever, and a lot of us still live locally. We're still around, I'm fortunate enough to still be employed by the team. So yes, I want to see this team win. And when that last pitch was finally recorded, when Josh Forrest struck out Ketel Marte, it felt so great. And as a competitor, I'll be honest, there were times during the postseason where I was struggling. I'm thinking, man, I wish I could have been part of that team to bring the Metroplex its first World Championship. But bottom line, we had our opportunity and we didn't get it done. So I think you kind of just had to process that and think through it. But then you start thinking about, obviously, the guys on the team, you think about the coaching staff, but then, I had the chance to work the parade. And so I started bringing up all of these names like, Jamie Reed, who, has been on the medical side of things for so long, and Brandon Boyd, who's the clubhouse manager. All these people who spend so many hours away from their families above and beyond the players, because a player's career is going to end when they're 35, 40 years old. If it's a good career, and these guys do it long past that, and they sacrifice so much. So for them to take part of it, to take part in it, even though they weren't on the field, you think about all of those people and then the fan base. And I've never been a guy who has thought about, when you're talking about your team and you say we, even though you're not out there doing anything and you're not out on the field, it's always been kind of weird to me. But then I started thinking about it more after the World Series and just how there's something that there's so many people that I don't know. When I got to see the trophy for the first time, I was just like, man, it's in a way, it's just a symbol of, of the fan base, obviously of the team the most, but of everybody that encapsulates the team. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're drawing a paycheck from the team, it's okay to call yourself a we.
Well, and it's like,
but I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's a collaborative, all inclusive. Fans can say we, they normally do.
Yeah.
It goes beyond, like you said, the 26 on the field. There were guys, Jake Latz, who was with the team the whole time, who never played. He was just there just in case. I mean, they're, and you mentioned Jamie Reed and Matt Lucero, some of the athletic trainers. They get there before the players and stay after. I mean, it's the clubhouse attendance. I mean, there are all kinds of people who are a part of this, and hopefully they all get rewarded with rings.
Well, and the clubs you were on, David, the 2010-11 team, as a fan, because I was a fan, I'm a fan, always been a fan, grew up a fan. The expectation level was raised because of the 2010-2011 teams, where now they actually started watching and expecting more from the Texas Rangers, because they were, in fact, that 2011 team, there's still a lot of people that think that was actually the best team in baseball. And that ended, and,
Not the 2012 team too.
Well, they were great.
That's bring something else up, Dave.
Yeah, to bring up more things. But it raised the expectation level. So to see and a lot of the core of that team are still part of the club now, you included, along with Ken's and Michael Young.
Colby Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those guys.
Oliver.
I mean, it's got to feel great for y'all, but y'all raised the expectation level for the fan base, who now thought, this is a team that we need to start competing for World Series.
Yeah. And the 2012 team had the highest, that was the record attendance year. I mean, I know what happened in 11, but there was still, the fans were still there and expecting, and now that's the norm, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see it. I mean, I think we as players are going to minimize, the cause and effect there, because who knows? Maybe there was from a fan base side, but I think from my point of view, there's nothing about Seager or Semenya or those guys who are feeding off what we did 10 plus years ago. Like they're going to go have the same season last year regardless of what we did. So who knows, like in some roundabout way, if what we did had some effect on what happened. But at the end of the day, they're just a bunch of really talented players, and obviously the right man in Bruce Bochy, who was leading them.
And on my part, I'm talking about the fan level. The fans became way more engaged through y'all, to where they were feeding and hungry. And the moment this team started playing and got back to the playoffs, this fan base was crazy, because they had been to a World Series before.
Yeah.
No, so they were let's do that.
Yeah. You played a few seasons with Adrian Beltre. He just went to was elected to the Hall of Fame.
Did they get it right?
I know you weren't around him for all 8 of his years here, but do you have a
favorite story?
Good way to encapsulize what Adrian Beltre meant and what it was like to be his teammate?
Yeah, I just remember the way that, and I talked about this a little bit in the last week or so, the way that he was able to use his talents on the field and be such a good player while also being able to goof around and keep it fun. I've just never seen a player be able to do that. Maybe like Miguel Cabrera, but I feel like Beltre probably had, an effect on Cabrera. Beltre did it first. And, most guys that kind of mess around out there, they're not able to flip the switch and focus when they need to. And Adrian was able to do so. He was able to enjoy the game, and he had an effect on me, because I feel like I always took it too seriously. And so I'm just like, man, I kind of admired just how much fun he was having out there. And I'm like, I want to be more that guy. And obviously it helped. It wasn't just him. There were so many guys on those teams that were just so much fun, and that kept it light, that kept it loose. The funny story that I've been telling is, it was a spring training game. I'm playing left field. Obviously Adrian's playing third base, and there was a line drive hit down the left field line for a double. And in the process of while I'm running to go get the ball to throw it in, I'm like, did I just see Adrian throw his glove up at that line drive and try to hit that, So, there were times where there were like ground ball doubles down the line where he would throw his glove at it too. Maybe sometimes during the regular season. And for a lot of people don't know the rule. Like if you
if it hits it, it's a triple.
Yeah, it's a 3-base error. So, like that, you're obviously taking a big time risk there, but just a really, really funny moment. I think another one that was great was he got caught in a rundown between second and third. And, we were in Houston. Whoever was chasing him, he basically ran halfway, down the left field line to the left field foul pole. And Phil Cuzzy, I believe, was the umpire. And, usually you don't get much of a reaction out of umpires. And Phil Cuzzy was dying laughing and kind of put his arms on Adrian after he called him out. And you could see Adrian in his, you could read his lips, and he was saying to Phil, he said, he never tagged me. He never tagged me. So man, amazing in turn. If you can incorporate comedy into the game, you're definitely going to win my heart. And Adrian did that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. John here took to Twitter last night after you confirmed that you were going to be on the show. And,
yeah, I got a few
questions. Up with some questions, and there's one probing question that everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
What is your TV schedule looking like this year? Or do you have one
with
yet?
CJ gone?
With CJ gone.
Yeah. So I don't have my schedule yet. Goodness, I don't even know how much I'm supposed to share. I'll just say that I'm going to do. We're going to split it up between a few guys, and I'm going to do about 45 to 50 games. So
that's more than last year, right?
So last year, I've been working more on the pre and post side in recent years. The last 2 years, I want to say I've only done about 12 as a color analyst. Back in 2021, it was easy for me because obviously I'm trying to, be around at home and coach youth baseball and be around for dancing volleyball, all these different things. And so in 2021, because COVID was still affecting, broadcasters and travel, like we did everything from home. So I did 45 games of color that year, but I didn't travel for a single game. So that's kind of made it a little bit more challenging in recent years. I've wanted to minimize travel, but I think we're in a place as a family where I can, start to do that a little bit more. And we'll see what that looks like. I don't know exactly what my final numbers are and how much I'll travel or anything like that. But so somewhere in the 45 to 50 game range.
Did you get fired as coach of the youth teams, or are you gonna navigate around tournaments and such?
So I hope so. I kept that in mind when I kind of submitted all of my dates. I know it's a team effort. I don't expect to get all of the games that I want because you've got some other guys in the mix too. But yeah, to make it more challenging, to answer your question, I've been coaching my oldest son, who's going to be, on a 13U team this year. I also have a 9-year-old. And so I'm not only coaching one team, I'm coaching 2 teams this year in the midst of all. So it's going to be a busy spring, but I'm looking forward to it.
It's a lot of fun and enjoy it. I'm telling you, as a dad that coached 2 boys at the same time, at the time, I swear I was running around going nuts. My wife's trying to help and do all of that. And you're going, God, this is crazy. I miss it. I miss it so much now. Yeah. My youngest is now a junior in high school. So I'm like, those were actually pretty fun.
Well, if I can think back to the time, I started coaching when my oldest was 6U and now he's 13. So if you think about how fast that amount of time went, and fast forward again, I'm going to blink and, both of them are going to be done. They're going to be, be high school or college, whatever, out of the house. And so I'm, you got
a daughter up there, right? Isn't she in high school?
2 daughters. Yeah. So we have 16, 15, 12, and 9.
That's crazy, David. I think the last time you're on, I said this too. It's, that's crazy. I knew you when you had no kids, and now you have kids who are looking at colleges and driving. And
I'm telling you, it flies by. I got a 26-year-old kindergarten teacher. So
do you own these teams? Are these teams part of an organization?
No, yeah, They're part of the Dallas Nationals organization, which
Okay.
is I live up in Argyle, based here in Argyle. So yeah, it's a great situation, and it's man, it's as much as I love broadcasting and love being around the team. I'm a physical guy and I love being on the field. And so even like when we're practicing like pickoffs and rundowns in practice, like I'll be the guy in the middle. Like, and I'm still, like I'm getting closer and closer to pulling a hamstring, but I like breaking a sweat and being physical. So I have fun doing those things on the field.
That's awesome. What? Yeah, no. My son is a year younger than your oldest son, and we're kind of been with an organization, and now they're going to do 2 teams, and I think there's some like behind the scenes politicking by some parents, and
absolutely,
it's really uncomfortable. I don't want to do that.
I don't miss
let
that.
my son's merits speak for themselves, and yeah, it's kind of, I knew it was there. I knew it was prevalent.
It's kind of cringy.
It was there when I was in high school and little, but it's like, come on.
Yeah, and not to mention too, and I was just having this conversation last night with my wife. It's just funny because, you talk to, there's a lot of guys in the area that coach or involved with youth baseball with their sons. And it's funny how, people that have less or not much experience in the game of baseball, because I can tell you on one hand probably about 5 guys that when I was 12, 13, 14 years old were surefire big leaguers, just how good they were at that age.
Yep.
And maybe 1 or 2 of them played in college, like it just, baseball
can all change.
It's such a weird game when it comes to like the physicality of it, because you see some kids grow early and they're men among boys and they seem like they're just going to dominate the baseball world forever. And then other kids catch up. So, it's really, you start to see at those older ages, once things level off a little bit, who's willing to put the work in. Obviously, first and foremost, who's been given the God-given talent, and then what they do with that on top of it.
Yeah. Jason Trujillo was the kid when we were kids who was going to be a Hall of Famer, probably.
Sure.
Like,
absolutely.
When we were 10 and 11, this kid was, and there were like rumors about him, like he's older, he was adopted, and they don't have the paperwork right. And he dominated through gas, and he ended up playing in high school, but that was it.
Yep.
And it's
eventually those kids start throwing hard. That's when I was an all-star my whole career. And then I got in high school and the guy threw me a curveball. And, I concentrated on catching footballs. I mean, it just changed. Okay. TR texted me the moment I announced it. He texted me and he goes, okay, you tell him for old time's sake, I want to hear one more story about Yaz. He loves Carl Yastrzemski. He said he bugged you about it your whole life. Apparently, Yaz helped you out when you were in the minor leagues, when you were but you got to tell something for TR. We got to take care of him.
Yeah, I don't think I have any new ones.
Well, we've never heard them, so tell us.
Yeah, the one that sticks out, and I've probably told TR this one before, that used to crack up. I used to crack up because you're taught as a hitter to use the whole field, right?
Right.
A complete hitter uses the whole field. And that's what Yaz did. He had the green monster. He was, you don't get that many hits and have that type of resume, if you're just a dead pull hitter. Well, I was in the cage and, nobody's throwing to me. They're just going underhand flips and he's checking me out and I'm hitting just rockets, like what would be into the left center gap, like over this, like low line drives, like right over the shortstop's head. And I take a few swings like that, just like that. I'm like, man, I'm right where I need to be. And he's like, all right, now stop. He's like, no. And he's got, he smoked a bunch and he's got like this deep voice, now, and he's like, now tell me what happened there. And we had kind of talked about timing, and that was something I really struggled with in the minor leagues. And we talked about me being late a lot. So I'm hitting these missiles, and he's like, "Now what's going on?" I'm like, "I'm late." he's like, "Yep, you're late." I'm like, "Okay." And so he's just encouraging me to make the adjustment. So I just start snap hooking, balls like down what would be down the right field line, or in the 4-hole in between the first and second baseman. And obviously, like if you take the right swing, you're hitting the ball with backspin and getting good loft on it. But I'm hitting these balls with like side spin and top spin and completely getting around the ball. And he just says, "That a boy, and walks off. And so I'm like, I left that session a little bit confused, but I guess it's good to know that to be on time and make contact with the ball out front and get the head out, because there's definitely plenty of truth to it too. Because if you're late, but it's hard to tell in the cage too. So who knows?
Yeah. All right.
Well, we
Carl
took
Yastrzemski. I mean, he won a Triple Crown.
And apparently
held forever and ever.
Was his favorite player growing up.
Still, this day still is.
It still is.
No one has
he
usurped
texted me immediately, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, TR. I'll ask him for you." We'll get one more. One fan asked this. It was kind of funny. Everybody
That's a good question.
Yeah, and they wanted to know about your TV schedule with CJ leaving. So you've answered that. One guy asked, and I totally forgot this, that you were part of the 2007 Boston. That was the trade year. That's when you came over for Gagne.
Yeah.
They want to know if you ever wear your World Series ring.
I've never worn any of my rings. I have one. I have the 2007 Boston. I have both of the pennant rings from 2010, 2011. It's not my nature to wear something that big and that gaudy. Who knows? Like maybe one of these days I'll bust it out for fun if it's a formal event. But I don't know. I hate denouncing it or saying guys can't wear it, because obviously it's something that you earn and it's special. But I think for me, at least for the time being, it's more of a trophy to look at than than something to wear.
Let me ask this, because you got traded. They went on, they win the World Series. So I just assume when the Rangers went to town the next year, is that when they presented you with yours?
Yes. So that was my first full year with the Rangers. We actually went to Boston in April, so it was convenient.
It was April.
Yeah.
It was marathon day. It was marathon weekend.
That's right. Yeah. Good call. And
he doesn't forget anything.
Yeah. So Jack McCormick, who was the traveling secretary at the time, not sure if he's still over there, but he brought it over and presented it. I was only up for 4 days, so I didn't expect anything big. I didn't expect Tito to come make any big presentation or anything like that. But I do have a funny story, because so Kurt Schilling, he went on the disabled list. I guess I can say disabled list, because it was the disabled list.
Yeah.
Back then it was, yes.
And so he went on the disabled list. They were in San Diego for 3 days, and then they went to Seattle. And so basically, because, National League Baseball at the time, you needed an extra guy off your bench, they brought me up, and I knew it was only going to be for 4 days, because then Kason Gabbard, who got traded with me to Texas, they called him up in my place so that he could make the start, for Schilling's next time around.
Yeah.
But I remember getting to San Diego that day, and Kurt, you say what you want about Schilling. Like I thought he was a good teammate. I had moments where he was more out of the old school. So all those veteran guys, it was a little bit. I was always on edge being around those group of veterans, but. Anyway, and he never really acknowledged me that much to begin with, but he saw me across the clubhouse. I was one of the first guys there that day, and he was like, "Hey, Murph," and I kind of looked over there, because I'm like, "Is that Schilling? Like calling my name?" And I was like, "Hey, yeah, what's going on?" And he just goes, "You're welcome." The fact that I was in the big leagues only because he got hurt, and I'm like, all right, that's not cool. But I guess
you're right.
Like I said, it was that maybe that's the way that the veteran guys showed the younger guys love at the time.
No, that's the truth, and but it has changed. That I think that has changed some. But the fact that you have a ring for 4 days, everybody who played for the Rangers this year is getting a ring.
Sure.
Owen White is going to get a ring, and he
deserves one.
And then, So, hey, good for them. And, but yeah, so anybody who played for the Rangers this year gets a ring.
Yeah.
So.
What a special opportunity for all of them.
Absolutely. Well, and like this team, along with the 10 and 11 teams that you played on, there are guys that are on the end of that bench down there that play such a huge part.
Yeah.
During the year, those guys that get called up to make spot starts during the year, every one of those deserve it because they helped this team get where they needed to in situations. I'm sorry. I think if you stepped out there on that field at one inning, you should get a ring because you helped that team. They needed you for that moment.
Yeah. And what a classy move by the organization as well.
Oh, that was very cool.
To recognize that. And, because who knows those younger guys, who knows what the entirety of their major league career is going to look like. It could end up being 10 to 15 years and it could be, a month or two. But regardless, there's always going to be a story behind that ring that they're going to be able to share with people.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, well, go
skiing.
Yeah.
You got to catch a flight. Are you driving or are you flying out?
No, we're flying. I'm headed to the airport just a little bit. So, yep.
All right, guys, that's David Murphy. He is part of the color analyst for the Texas Rangers. He's going to be doing some games this year. Fan favorite, part of that 2010-2011 team. David, thanks so much for jumping on here with us. You guys have fun, and we'll see you out at the yard.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me, and look forward to the next time.